Welcome to the Society of Cryptid Hunters podcast. Josh and David are just two regular guys who share a passion for cryptids and our world's weird and unknown things. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform and consider supporting us by subscribing or liking our show. Join us on our journey as we delve into the world of cryptozoology.
All right, Josh.
Well, yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Society of Cryptid Hunters. David, I just want to say that we hit a milestone in our last episode. We hit 20 episodes. So congratulations, sir. I know in the world of podcasting and the ones that are successful, 20 is still very small and amateurish. But I think that's great that there's a lot of people that maybe just found the show and don't really know, but you're in Washington and I'm in Texas, and we're recording this.
Exactly.
So to be able to coordinate that in these days, different time zones and everything, it is quite a feat, which is pretty awesome.
The time zone thing is 2 hours doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to when you're this late at night for us, it's a big deal.
Yeah, there's always different days of the week we're trying to plan, and I got little kids, and you got family coming to town. You got all this stuff, and I got all this stuff, and it's like, pick a night. We got to pick a night.
That was another thing. We had to completely choose a different night because it just was not. We were doing it on a Wednesday, and a Wednesday was just too much going on during the week, and we just could not do it.
Yeah, so that's why we say it's very important to set that notification button. Make sure you like and subscribe to our podcast. So whenever we do pop an episode in, you're made aware that we have something new for you. But we're going to do something a little bit different in this episode. Now, I know it's a little premature to talk about the best episode so far when we only had 20. But we're just going to do our 5 favorite ones in this episode. So I kind of look at it this way, David, that we break. If you're new to the show, this is a good episode to kind of break into. This is the one that you can kind of hear what our favorites are and what the topics were without having to go back and listen to the episode. Now, we'd love for each one of you to go and listen to each episode 100 times if you could. That'd be great. Analytics love that, and all that fun stuff gets us all over the place. That's great. But one thing you can do is listen to this episode. If something piques your interest, you can go back and find it on all the different podcast platforms that we're on, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else. Just do a Google search and it'll pop up. So that's one way I'm looking at this episode, is kind of give you what we have the best of our podcast so far. So just kind of break that down, and then I told you can follow us on social media. We do have a Facebook group you can find now. Go ahead and send a request. I have one question on you there you have to answer. It's really simple. And if you don't meet the criteria, which basically is, what is your favorite cryptid? If you can't even answer that, we're not going to let you in the group. But that's just that's there. So get on there. We do post a lot of things in there. Try to get conversations going and discussions on cryptids and other things going on in our crazy, wacky, weird world that we just enjoy talking about. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I at first I thought with the whole Facebook group, it's actually a lot of fun. Me and Josh post a lot of stuff on there. I'm out there actively posting stuff that I see throughout the week. If y'all see something, when you be a part of our Facebook group and post stuff, because it's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. At first, it's kind of weird to set up, but it's definitely fun. I was gonna say welcome to the tinfoil. Oh wait, we're not the Tinfoil Hat Society anymore.
No, we're not.
That's one thing I wanted to bring up. That we've now we're gonna do our third opening theme song. We're on that, and in 1 year's time, we've changed our name from the Tinfoil Hat Society to now the Society of Cryptid Hunters. More focusing on the cryptid side of things than just the random conspiracies. Because one thing I want to bring up is what we found with doing these episodes is for instance, we did an episode on Area 51, and it was kind of boring. Not the episode, of course, wasn't boring because me and Josh are not boring, but researching it. I mean, we all basically know the story, and there's not a whole lot because since then. So I mean, other than that, it's in random media. There's really not that whole lot to it. And
yeah, totally agree with you, David. I mean, that's kind of the point too. Is a lot of stuff we are talking about there's already so much information, and I'm just regurgitating what's already out there. So totally understand that, man.
I will say too that that I thought it would be fun to say that podcasting is a lot harder than it sounds. You think it's going to be easy, but there's a lot of behind the scenes like research. And I also noticed from the amounts of time that we sit here and listen to ourselves talk, that how many times I say the word like and and when we go back and listen to it, I'm like, wow, that sounds dumb. So that's definitely a learning experience. Like this whole year in review, like there's definitely a lot that we found. Um, I wanted to kick it off too, Josh.
Yeah,
With like what my top favorites are. Is
yeah.
that how you
Well, let's
what I
go
have?
ahead and alternate. Let's alternate. You take
I'll
you go first and start with your fifth and work your way to number one, and we'll just share it. And and I it might surprise some of you. We might have some of the same ones, and they might be ranked differently. But I have mine that ranked in order that I have them, and kind of the reasons why. That's how I'm going to do it. So
I'll start it off. I'll kick it off. Like, it was not hard for me to pick my top faves, and I'm gonna start with number five, which was number five for me is the Beast of Bray Road.
nice.
Which technically is our first real cryptid one. We did an episode where we did Mothman and Bigfoot together, which I know we're gonna touch on later, more into Bigfoot because Bigfoot's such a broad range and we be going around the world and different states that we really bring it up separately. So it's definitely he's gonna be coming up a lot more, but the Beast of Bray Road, what I really loved is a fun story. And there's people that think that this wolf man comes out of portals, which of course I like to hear that. And like the I mean, but the cool thing about that story is there's a lot of stories afterwards. And when we do research, like if there's like one or two stories, like it's not nearly as interesting. But when a ton of people believe something, that's when it gets real fun to me. Like when it spans over a long period of time, not just like a certain time period. I mean, the Beast of Bray Road, like it spanned over several years. I haven't looked at it recently, but it was spanned over like 30 years, right?
Oh,
Um,
it's been more than that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean
Yep.
that's my number five. It's I would say that that's one of our stronger episodes. It's one of the I believe that was our first like real dive before we changed our name. So it was one of the
Hmm.
ones that really kind of spearheaded us to go more towards in this direction actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not to make the episode boring for our listeners, but my number five was also the Beast of Prairie Road.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did not
So
plan that, guys.
and
The
in
guys
the
and girls.
and the my and you're going to see from my top five, a lot of it has something close to the heart. So Beast of Bray Road is something I've researched a long time ago when we talked about where I bought the book of Lisa Godfrey's book a long time ago. I had a special order it from Books a Million because they didn't
I've
have it in
never heard
stock.
of it.
But I don't know where the book is now. I should get it again. But I actually had the intentions of writing a screenplay because I was so intrigued by the story. But yeah, and this is the episode that we really dug into what other creatures could this be besides just a dog man werewolf.
In
I think we brought up the Wendigo and other
in
things. So
the Michigan Dogman, because
yeah,
it's pretty close to that area anyway.
that is correct. Yep. So that's kind of where we got into with that one, and just because I have a history with that, that's why it's on my list. So, but I'll hop into my number four. My number four was the Loveland Frogman. That was that one I enjoyed. I thought that one we really laid that one out a lot better. And if nobody knows the Loveland Frogman was, it was these small frog-like creatures that were seen by this guy walking on the road. Other people have seen it. It's in Ohio, Loveland, Ohio, and they actually celebrate this and have festivals for this cryptid. Not proven, but apparently has been seen from many eyewitnesses. Again, something of great folklore in a town that they've kind of embraced, and it's a neat story. And I, being from Ohio, didn't, and I was honest, I did no idea this thing even existed. So I'm from Northern Ohio, but once we got into it, now I am fully on board with the Loveland Frogman and a big fan. So
Well, so the Loveland Frogman is my number three on the list, and why he's number three and not four is because the story is fun. Um, Granted,
Mhm.
there's not a lot of more recent sightings of it, but just the idea that there's this 2 to 3 foot tall man frog thing, like I thought was fun. I mean, the story's fun. It's not a scary story. It's not really something you would tell your kids at around a campfire, but the story was cool. And it was different. It's a different thing that, like you said, you never even heard of it.
No,
And it was something that
no idea.
it is something that I'd heard this year. With us doing all this research, it really opened the door into a lot of things that we're gonna get more into in the rest of this episode. But like, there's definitely stuff that was completely like did not know. Like 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 this one when it was brought up, I was like, well, I thought that the only thing around there was the Mothman. Um,
Yeah,
but there's so many more cryptids in every state, and that's really what we found with doing this is like how every crypt or every state has a ton of cryptids. Which off the subject, we talked about it in um our Mothman and Bigfoot episode. There's so many different names of the Bigfoot that it's crazy. Like
yeah,
I I hear a new one almost every day when I'm doing research. Like I'm not
yeah.
even joking.
Oh
Every
no,
country has a different name of it. Every state in America has a different
they
name of it.
they just specialize the name of it. Yeah, I've been keeping the track in the database of the different ones. There's some
Which
really
that's
interesting ones too.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna jump to my number 4, which
yeah.
is the Leprechauns episode.
Okay.
Which we did the Leprechauns episode for people that might have listened to that. That was our St. Patrick's Day special,
Yeah.
which was super fun. And I informed Josh that I had never seen the movie The Leprechaun. And I told you that maybe I'd check it out that weekend. I didn't. I
No,
didn't. I still
that's okay.
haven't.
It's all right.
I haven't checked out. I haven't checked out him in space. Is he in space? Did he go to space? I can't.
He
I know
got
he
to
went to the
space
hood.
and he was in the hood too,
Wasn't he
twice.
in the? Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't he in the hood twice?
Yeah, yeah.
I. Wow. I mean,
That's quite
that's
the
just
opening. Yeah, the opening of that movie. You can check it out on YouTube. It's great. I actually, when I did the sound effects for the sound clips for that episode, there are some. The sound effect from Leprechaun is from. I One was from the Leprechaun, the first movie, and the other one's from Leprechaun in the Hood. Ah,
you're
you
saying
come
what?
to steal me gold. It's
You're
great.
saying the opening of Leprechaun in the Hood, I gotta see, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
just look for the opening scene. There's like these guys, and they find his little lair or whatever gold, so they steal it, and they get the gold coin, and that's what awakens him. And you come to steal
What's
me gold.
what's the name of that actress that plays Rachel in Friends? Can't think of her name right now.
Jennifer Aniston. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
that
in the
was her
first one.
first movie, right? The
Yeah,
first movie, the first
yeah,
Leprechaun. Yeah,
yeah. And it's
yeah.
so
I
funny
mean,
because nobody knew who she was at the time, but now every version of the Blu-ray or DVD, I don't know if it's on Blu-ray. Let me know in the comments if it is because I might go buy it. But
yeah. I
but
mean,
the DVD it says Jennifer Aniston on it now, so because it didn't used to. It was just like Warwick Davis
oh
as
wow, okay.
yeah, a
Because
long time ago.
she wasn't known when it came out. Then is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but once Friends came out and stuff, it's been years. She's been on her name's been on the cover for years now. But before, I don't think she was on the originals. I don't recall, especially VHS tapes. I don't believe her name's like prominently on like the front cover or anything.
As I recall in that episode, one of the things that when we were researching that I found the most interesting is how many people believe to this day in leprechauns in Ireland.
Yeah, that was interesting. There's a
Yeah,
large amount.
I don't recall the exact amount. If you listen to our episode, that we talk extensively about it. Which, off the subject, did you know Conor McGregor is running for the president of Ireland? He announced
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. 2025, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
good
like,
for him.
yeah, well, I mean, that's people were like, "That's crazy." I'm like, "It's not that crazy because,
Let me think about it.
Pacquiao ran for the president of, the Philippines. I think he was it for a while, to be honest.
I
I'd have to look
That's a whole
anyway,
different subject.
right.
Yeah,
But yeah, that episode was fun. I mean, between how many stories there are about the leprechauns, like, there's so many fables, like, it's just it's fun. There's so much media about it. We're still talking about it this day. We're still writing songs and I mean, people are still making movies and they're still making stories about it too. So it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
intense.
And that was part of the Fantastical Creature series. That was the first one we did, which was Which was an interesting and fun thing to go through. It was a neat experiment. I like the idea that we found these kind of, I don't know, creatures, things that were big in these countries and areas, part of their culture. And now it became a part of pulp culture. And we talked about the books, the movies, and things like that, that all these things were in. And then we talked about the leprechaun and kraken and goblins and other things. So,
which
but
we'll
that was
probably
fun.
revisit later too.
Yeah,
Some of
maybe
those.
again. I think we're kind of catching stride. I feel on some other things. So um,
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
might be something. It was nice to have something
That's a
like
break.
Fantastic Creatures to open up research and really dig into it and kind of have fun with that. That was
It was
cool.
also fun to research cryptids that are outside of America, which that
Yeah,
me and Josh are accustomed to is cryptids in other countries that um I don't know if we really have any listeners outside of our country yet, but when we do, like which brings me to what I've always wanted to tell all of our listeners is if you are from another country and there's a cryptid in your country, please message us, let us know about these cryptids. We will look them up, and if you have a story about it, please send that to us. We are going to look into it, and we'll put an episode out about it. It'll be fun. Which brings me to my number two because number three was the Loveland Frogman for me.
I
So
haven't done a I haven't done my
oh,
third yet.
you haven't done your third. That's right.
I
Yeah,
haven't
go
done
your
my
third.
third yet, and I'm really gonna pull back the curtain to something really old.
Oh, no,
So,
I don't. Wow.
so number three is all the way back to the Tinfoil Hat Society days.
Oh,
It's going to be the Here Come the Men in Black episode.
I was gonna do those three separately. I was gonna talk about
Okay.
those afterwards, but let's go ahead and talk about
Well, the only reason is this is the one where we really dug into. Now, I know we talked a lot about the Mothman in the first three episodes and all this
right.
stuff, and it gets brought up every episode, and I joke about it now, so people are just expected at this point.
Hmm.
But this is the one where I really got to dig into. We talked about what they actually were, and
Well,
if they were actually part of government or were they actually extraterrestrial. And I actually took evidence that was given in the book Mothman Prophecies and some things, and then also with the UFOs and everything else going on at Point Pleasant at the time.
right.
The Men in
And you
Black
talked
were around. There was a lot
and
around at the time.
you talked about that story about interviewing like a waitress or something in Point Pleasant that it
No, well, no. That was in the book. I talked to a
okay,
guy that ran a sign shop, and he brought that up. I
right,
wasn't like walking around interviewing people, um,
right.
but just chatting away because I bought a picture from a guy, and he's like, "Oh, you like the Mothman?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is intriguing." And so he started talking to me about it. He enjoyed talking about it.
Well, I
But
don't
yeah,
think I knew. Matter of fact, I know I didn't know before that episode that the Men in Black were considered aliens because I had seen that when in the episode I talk about the X-Files episode that I had seen that had the Men in Black, and it was this guy that came over to this guy. I don't remember exactly what happens, but why he goes and talks to him in the episode. But he basically is in a dark trench coat and the a fedora hat and basically discredits everything he says and says it's actually the opposite of what he thinks he saw, and then leaves.
hmm.
Um, and that was really I didn't know that it was like you know that people think that it's aliens that are out there trying to like change the send out disinformation basically.
They're just making sure what you saw you didn't really see or don't remember that you saw.
Which
So,
and I watched a bunch of really kooky movies about it in preparation for that episode,
uh,
which
yeah.
they were fun, but I'd probably never watch them again. I mean, we actually recently I don't remember what holiday it was. It might have been the 4th of July, but we watched all of the Peacock had all of the Men in Black shows. Not the new one because that one kind of sucks, but the one where it's like international, that one sucks. But we
Uh,
watched all three of them in like one night. They're so good. Like, you know, as far as
they're
like
fun.
alien movies, they're classics.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun movies for sure.
And I had forgot that Johnny Knoxville's in the second one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
Actually, the second one's pretty. The second one is really good. Now that I'm thinking about it.
the
Yeah,
second one is my favorite is still the first one is just iconic. Um,
yeah,
and it really touches on everything you were talking about, except they don't really say that they're aliens, they just have aliens. but you also find out that Dennis Rodman was an alien, which everybody knew that anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
But
well,
yeah.
now that you have your third, I was gonna say, since I didn't know you were gonna talk about the old tinfoil hat episodes, I will say that I already talked about how Area 51 was boring, but the one thing I did want to talk about is in our episode about the Denver airport.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea. Like, I had heard a little bit about the Denver airport just because of the mural. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and then it was always something like I always send myself like articles that I'll read later when I'm bored. If like I'm at work waiting for something, I'll read an article like that. Well, I had read something about the mural and how crazy it was, but when I started researching it, there was so much to read that it was almost overwhelming. And our episode, that was one of our longer beginning episodes because there was so much
Yeah.
into it between the Great Reset, the Illuminati, the how they think there's an underground what do you call it? Like it's I think they call it a DUMS. I can't remember what that acronym stands for, but basically like, one of those uh underground fortresses that are really far down on the ground that
Well,
is just
that's where all the elites are going when the
right,
apocalypse
exactly.
hits.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. It's a fun one
Which
to talk about. Yeah.
which is funny. I read an article literally today that seen was posted about how the airport embraces it now and is making all these new areas. Because now at the baggage claim they have like it's like a gargoyle that talks to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're making it like a theme park almost in there.
Yeah.
Um,
I think well, from my understand, is like the airport actually um, likes that people like all the conspiracies and likes to travel through there now. And they
well, I think
actually
it's better
like
than
I got
being
out of security to go check things out, and I went through security again to get back on my flight because I wanted
well,
to see. So they're
I
doing all
mean,
this stuff now to attract
I
people.
don't I don't think it's a bad idea. You're turning something that all of us hate to do into something that's kind of like an experience. It
Yeah,
really was an experience, you
you
know.
get a layover at the Denver airport, you're gonna go check it out and spend money.
What's
It's
funny is I had said in that episode, I've been to the Denver airport, but this was years ago and I had no idea about any of this. I barely
yeah,
remember it.
we my wife and I, when we were traveling, we had a layover there. I'm like, come on, we gotta go. And so we got out and checked everything out. We didn't see the gargoyle stuff, because we had to get back, but we like in the
But
food
you saw
court
the
we ate
mural.
all this stuff. We saw the murals. We saw
Mhm.
the mason, the cornerstone or whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they weren't doing themselves any favors with that mural. Like who was drawing that was like this is a good idea.
Yeah, they're like, wow, that's not gonna raise eyebrow at all.
No, it's so weird.
It's great. I mean, if you're ever in the Denver airport, do yourself a favor, just go check it out, please. It's quite a trip.
All right, let's go to number two. My number two is the Van Meter Visitor. And
I also
reason.
had number two Van Meter visitor.
Oh wow, this is crazy. We didn't even do this like
Oh
we did not talk to each other prior to this. Like it just
no,
happened
no,
this
my
way.
list is right here. I wrote it out. Yeah,
So never heard of the Van Meter Visitor. When you sent me the article about it, because you've sent me like several pictures that has like the depiction of the Van Meter Visitor in the background of like a drawing where you have like the Bigfoot and the Mothman, and it's like, like a artist drawing, and that would be in the background. And I'd always be like, what is that thing?
mm,
But it's a fun story. There's not a whole lot to it, but the whole story is fun. The way that Van Meter Visitor looks is fun. I think it's an alien, so of course I think it's really fun.
yeah.
Um,
I think with the episode that we did, since it's a very detailed story, and I do like the fact that the main guy was somebody that was well known and prominent, and people took him seriously, and the story became serious. And they also had a festival recently. They get a lot of attention on it. So I mean, that town has embraced it. So the way we ran that episode, we ran it very thoroughly through everything up until the start of the sightings, all the way through the festival, and I think we did that really well. So that's why it's like one of my top twos for sure, and of what we done.
the flow in that episode was really fun. That was
Yeah,
when the episodes are something that we actually like the story of, the flow goes really well, and I think the story comes more alive, which will go to my top favorite, which I thought that our gnome episode was my top favorite
Mm,
episode we did. Because gnomes are fun. I've been a gnome fan since I was a little kid. Josh is my gnomie. I don't know if y'all know that out there.
yeah,
Um,
hanging with my nomies.
Hanging with my gnomies.
Yeah,
Gnomes are fun. My little story was fun to say. That's a pretty cool story. There's a lot into it. Like I just thought the whole episode was fun. Um, some of the fantastical creatures that we look into weren't that cool, but gnomes are cool. There's a lot
yeah.
of, folklore about gnomes. There's a lot of media. Apparently you've seen all these kids movies about gnomes that I haven't seen. I just seen David the Gnome, the cartoon, and you've seen what was it? What didn't you see some episode or some movie
It's
was called like Sherlock Gnome or something?
Sherlock Gnomes, Romeo and Juliet. Come on, man. Where you at? That was in the movie theaters, bro. Like if I would have known you're gonna bring this one up, I had the Blu-ray of Sherlock Gnomes. One, because I'm a fan of reading Sherlock Holmes. I love the books.
Of
And then
course, yeah,
two,
me too.
when they have the Sherlock Gnomes movie, I got it for free somewhere. But me and the boys watch it. It's
That's
great.
so funny. Like when I thought when you first told me that, I was like, he just made that up. Well, you didn't.
No, no. Everyone listening has heard of it except for you.
Well,
And
my
I
kids,
bet
yeah,
everyone else that listens to the show too, actually likes the Goonies, not you.
yeah,
So
you found that. I think it was funny. The next day, Josh, after that episode where he found out I don't like the Goonies, he messaged me. He was like, "How's it going, Goonie hater?"
gosh, that still
Um,
hurts. That hurts the
I mean,
heart, man.
I think he even asked me like, "Well, what do you like?" I'm like, "Back to the Future." Like, oh, okay, well, that's good though.
Well, that's fine, but like, man, how can you not like the Goonies? It's like,
It was funny is I didn't like it as a kid, and I don't it gets even more annoying to me as an adult because people like you and my wife were like, I don't understand why you don't like it. I'm like, I don't understand why you like it.
it's
What's
classic.
funny is
I think I have the map somewhere of the land of Goonies somewhere.
so that movie
The
was filmed
treasure map. I
in
had the treasure map somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but
the Goonies was filmed in Oregon, and I don't live that
yeah.
far away from where it was filmed because I lived in the Pacific Northwest, and
Oh yeah. All the
it's
houses
only like
there,
a
the rocks where they had the boat come through was there. All that stuff's there.
it's probably only like a
The
4 hour drive
jails
or
there.
something.
There's
My wife
actually
has
a
been there.
documentary on YouTube you can watch.
I'm not watching that.
Don't expect you to. Goonie hater.
Yeah,
Right. All right.
but back to gnomes. Gnomes are cool. Um, we talked about
Yeah.
how maybe there is some small people out there that could potentially be real. Like I can't remember. I haven't looked it in a while, but I had brought up that there's a race of small human beings that they know for a fact existed. I can't think of the name of those people, but um
Oh,
I
yeah. I don't know.
I
I just read about that the other day too. I'm like, oh, those guys. Yeah.
I posted that video on our Facebook group about how in Mexico there's a guy that's seen a small creature running through like the forest, and I mean it does kind of look like a small person, but it could also be a kid. But it actually looks like but it's still fun to see videos like that. When you go and research gnomes, there's so many videos on the internet of like, oh, there's this gnome in the background of this random
Did you see
video.
the one where there's like one on the hillside and it's like he's like doing some movement and they're playing the X-Files music in the background? I'm like, why is everybody playing the X-Files music? And how do we not get through an episode without talking about the X-Files or Mothman?
It's so funny is our first like 10 episodes, I bring up the X-Files. I bring them up like every episode to the point where you're like, maybe we should just do a podcast where we watch an X-Files episode and talk about it. And we
Yeah.
almost did that. Which
Yeah.
I mean, I went back and in this year in review, like I went back and watched a bunch of old episodes of the X-Files, and they were pretty ahead of their time on a lot of things,
Oh, for
actually.
sure. Oh, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
it got a
Yeah.
little kooky when Mulder left. Like it wasn't nearly as cool, But there were some episodes that I watched. I watched like a weird episode about a UFO cult that was kind of fun, that they found like some UFO crashed UFO artifacts that they were excavating, which the whole thing was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little kooky. And then when he came back, I don't know if you've seen any of those episodes. It got really cool.
Mm.
But there's a lot of cryptid episodes. We In one of our episodes we talked about Champ, and there's basically a Champ episode. It was called like Big Blue or something. Or maybe
Oh
it
yeah, yeah.
wasn't called Big Blue.
It wasn't called Big Blue. It's called like Disclosure. I forget. But yeah, look up. You got to listen to that episode to find it. That's all you got to
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. But basically, yeah, there was the our Champ episode. There's basically an X-Files episode about the Champ cryptid, which was really fun to
Yeah.
watch on.
Which thank you, David, for segueing that. For my number one, my number one episode is the Lake Champlain monster.
No way.
Way. So I have been a fan of the of Champ for years, and to be able to do an episode on that was actually a lot of fun. I thought to really that was the one I felt like really dug into what set the standard for the fantastical creatures and so on and so forth for how we did our episodes. We did the research of the town. We talked about the history of the town and the creature and how it affected the culture, and then how it turned into folklore and then tourism, and then how it became a part of our culture, which is something I thought was awesome on how
Probably
that
one of the
how that,
most interesting parts of that is the amount of people that have seen sightings. I think there was like 1,500 sightings of this thing
yeah,
in
yeah,
that town.
yeah. And
Um,
there's still, I mean, I follow some people on
oh, I read something like
yeah,
a month ago about it, that there was new evidence.
yeah. So I've been following people, and they doing all kinds of drones, underwater drones now, and all kinds of things. And they may have
A
seen
lot of
something, may
drones.
not have seen something. I think we're going to find a water creature somewhere because apparently every body of water has one now. Who knows?
We
But
had we had actually said after that episode, and or maybe before, that we would not do one
on the
on
Loch
what's the
Ness,
on Loch Ness. And I had just
yeah.
recently read an article recently that they think Loch Ness was a large eel.
Yeah,
They've
well,
already
yeah,
proved.
that's in the book, The Loch. Crap, and I just saw that in the bookstore the other day, and I was like, oh, I should get that and read it again. But that's the whole idea was it was a giant eel, but in the book it came out of the ground and ate people. But
Oh, I like
um,
it.
but there's like holes that it can go into and underwater caves that it lives in, and so you see it rarely. But there's other places besides Loch Ness that it lives in.
Well, the
But
reason we didn't want to
yeah,
do that is because they had already proven that that guy had made a hoax with the picture anyway, and I don't like doing stuff where you already find out that they're
well,
hoaxing you.
it's just that, and then there's so much about that already that's been
Right.
discussed, and there's not really anything new.
I mean, how
And
many
you got something
documentaries
like
have you seen
something
about
out
it?
of Lake Champlain up around New York, and
Well,
people around there have heard about it, but not other people in Texas have heard about it or anywhere else. So
well,
that's kind of the point of why either one's.
before we wrap this up, I mean that's really the thing about the Champ episode is I don't remember that I'd ever heard of that before. Um, before you had brought it up, I don't think I knew about that, about there being a sea creature kind of dinosaur thing in America before.
Yep, and that's
Um,
what's great about the show, David. Is there's a lot of things that, like you brought it up about the Denver airport, and other things that you didn't know about, and you got into. You're like, holy crap! There's a lot of stuff going on.
one thing that I found from us doing our weird news is how many weird stories there are that you brought up about the alien in Miami,
Oh yeah.
and how you did a deep dive one night and didn't go to sleep and watched all these crazy
Oh,
conspiracy.
I went down that rabbit hole. That was crazy. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and
But
the reason I bring that up before we end it is I went down a rabbit hole about the aliens in Vegas. That there's all kinds of videos on YouTube about that people are like,
yeah.
I heard a noise at the same time that they're reporting this noise, and we saw this light in the sky. And there's like all these different people that were posting on YouTube about that. I'm like, come on, man.
Yep. Yep.
I
But yeah, we
remember
want to thank oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, before I end that up, there's like a dash cam or a body cam video from a police officer, and it's like this light in the sky, and it's like, oh, there's a UFO. It's like, I don't know, man. That just looks like oh, whatever. Anyway, kick it off, Josh.
Yeah, but I just want to thank everyone for listening to this episode. I hope you have listened to all of our episodes and given them a shot. We do appreciate any comments and likes, shares, all that fun stuff that you know what to do when you listen to podcasts or on social media. With that said, we do have a lot of stuff coming up that, if you want friends to be involved with, Halloween's coming up. It's right around the corner. I'm already decorating. I don't know about you, but there's we got some stuff planned for Halloween. We got a couple shows that's going to be kind of spooky, kind of in line with the Halloween. So that's going to be coming up soon. We may have a surprise weird news coming out again soon. I know we got a lot of likes on those in the past. So we'll probably knock one of those out. But 20 episodes, this would be 21. But we really appreciate all the support from our listeners. We appreciate everyone that's in the Facebook group, all of the society members. And we just want to, keep it going. We enjoy talking about this stuff. We enjoy you being a part of it and being a part of this community. So please follow us on Facebook, follow us on X. We're on there. I try to post on there, but if people are active with me, I'll be active with them. But just find a podcast, do a search on Google. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I think we're on Amazon and some other places. But if we're not on the platform that you listen to, let me know and I'll see what I can do to get that on there for you. We want you to enjoy the show because we enjoy having you. So thanks again. Thanks, David, for the recap of everything. And thanks so much for where we're at so far with the show.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
All right.